Hello and welcome to She is the Moment. I am so excited because I have a really interesting guest on today's podcast. He is the moment. It is Adam Hode Coaching. And do you know what? I'm going to let Adam introduce himself, but the name of this podcast will tell you what really this is all about. Adam started his Instagram account. He's an online coach, but he started his Instagram account about a year ago with absolutely zero followers and now has 1 million followers and a really super successful online coaching business. And me and Adam have only recently met online, but he's been such a helpful person, giving me loads of tips on, visibility content and growing my own Instagram account. So I thought that it would be great to have him on the podcast and we could pick his brain and learn so much from him. So Adam, welcome. I'm so happy and grateful for your time. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? If I've missed anything out there, tell us a bit about yourself and your business, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. So firstly, thanks for having me on. Delighted to be on here with you, Shona. So yeah, essentially what I have is an online coaching business, and my Instagram page is kind of focused on nutrition, recipes, and kind of really making everything really simple and easy. And I think that's half of the appeal of my page. It's just straight to the point. And yeah, managed to grow to over 1 million followers in actually less than a year, which is pretty crazy to think. So yeah, that's the state of play at the minute.
Fantastic. So have you been working in the fitness industry for long?
So I've been probably in fitness for like 15 years or so. I actually started back at uni. I had the best job at uni. I was the guy behind the desk at the gym, and then they essentially helped train me up and gave me some qualifications, and I started to get a little bit of experience in that. But not a lot of people know this, but I do have actually a master's in geology, and that's actually what I did until I was about 23, 24 years old. And then there kind of came a point in my life where I was like, do I want to go on to uh, the next higher paying job in geology, or do I want to go down the fitness route? And went down the fitness route and started doing one-to-one training, as most of us do when we first get the PT qualification. That went really well, and after that, I kind of grew an outdoor boot camp, which is actually still running. I've been going for about 10 years. And yeah, only really.
You still coach a boot camp class in person?
Yeah, I still do it because I do it purely for the love of it and the fun of it, because so much of my focus has gone to like on the online, especially in the last like 6 to 9 months, that it's been really hard to have like two businesses and grow them and focus them at the same time. So I kind of let it just run as it is, and just let the core members kind of keep it going, and give me a hard time. They're like, Adam, you can't quit, you can't close this down, you've got to keep this going for as long as you possibly can. So yeah, so that's still going. And yeah, and then about a year ago, just over a year ago, kind of wanted to really explore the online route. And then that's basically where I am now, a year of posting and online training. So yeah.
That's wild. So you've been in the fitness industry for 15 years, but the story that I heard that you didn't have an Instagram account up until last year. So did you just were you just a word of mouth PT? Is that how people came to you?
Yeah, so I've got a personal Instagram, but that had actually nothing to do with like fitness or anything. And a year ago, I literally just had a completely blank Instagram page with nothing on it. So I was just posting into the ether, slightly hoping for the best, and just trying to refine it with every month that kind of passed. But with the boot camp, it was more like ads focused in terms of like local ads, call to actions, like, hey, we're looking for 15 ladies, 10 ladies, or different sort of variations of that. And I'd get them in on like 6-week challenges was the primary way of getting them in, and that always served me well. And then we kind of managed to get retention off the back of that and grow the community, from that with the outdoor stuff. Yeah.
So what was it that made you decide? So you were running ads to build your in-person boot camp and that was going really well. And then what was it that made you decide, I want to now be an online coach, and I'm going to start my Instagram account. What was that decision? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, so I think two things. One, I wanted a little bit more flexibility because I didn't want to be tied down to just one location, right? So I really like the idea of being able to craft your own schedule and also, to be honest, like try something new. Because when you've been doing the same thing, I'm sure we've all had it when you're doing the same thing for 6, 7, 8 years, even if you love it, like sometimes a change of scene is good. You want something fresh, and a new skill set to learn. And also, if I'm being honest, with the boot camp in its current form, I always felt that there was some ceiling to it, in terms of like how much I could grow it by, because I wasn't. It's quite tricky to grow something like that into like multiple locations, and I wasn't set on having like a facility, especially in like London, where you have to put down a really big commitment in terms of
Mm.
leases and stuff, and lay out a guarantee, maybe have rent of £5,000 to £10,000 a month. So I was like, I want something that I can have relatively low risk or low barrier to entry, and something that I know can scale. And also, I'd spoken to quite a few other coaches who I knew in fitness, and they seemed to be doing pretty well with it. So I thought, yeah, I'd give it a go.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, I was an in-person PT for like 10 years. I never did group classes, but we did have a CrossFit gym. And then it was lockdown that made me shift from being an in-person PT to being a completely online fitness coach. And also, it was like, well, I don't know if you know much about my business, but I mostly work with mums. I'm a life first business coach, and I help a lot of coaches make that shift from being in person to online, because it is difficult. Like, it's a completely different style of coaching people, isn't it? Was that something that you found quite tricky? Like when you first became an online coach, they were like, how do I actually do this? Because I know how to like coach people in person. I know how to check their form and make sure they're exercising like safely. But how do I do that as an online coach? Did you struggle with that at all?
Yeah, do you know, 100%. I think it's definitely a different dynamic. Even if you're someone who you think is like, I'm super knowledgeable, I've been doing this for loads of years, and I'm super good with training people one to one and in person. When you're online, I feel like the way that you sort of structure the training and how you coach people is really different. And I've actually learned quite a lot in terms of how to come across, what is more important, and stuff like that. So for me, I've always found that when I've gone online, like what people want a lot more of is you have to like double, triple down on the accountability side of things, and the touch points that you have with people, because you don't have the in person. You can't rely on the seeing people at boot camp every day or having that banter sort of thing. So yeah, so definitely having like a lot more touch points, especially when for me, I'm focused on like nutrition and accountability. So it's almost even less to do with like the workout side of things. So it's almost even amplified even more. Yeah.
Mm. I want to ask a question all about like more about online coaching, but I know people are like, ask him about his Instagram account. So we'll maybe come back to
Sure.
that, because I think that's it's such a good point you made about touch points, because one conversation that I have quite a lot with new online coaches is that they are worried about having like the best systems, the best app, like a bank of resources for their new online clients. But really and truly, what your new online clients want is just access to you, because they're paying for Adam. They're paying for you as a coach. They're not necessarily paying for all the bells and whistles that come along with that. They need you there in their back pocket to help them when times get tough. So thank you so much for saying that, because it's a conversation I have with people all the time.
100%. 100%.
Right. So you started your Instagram account and you've had this insane growth, because like I've written the title of this podcast is 0 to 1 million in a year, but you've said that you're over 1 million at this stage.
Yeah, I'm actually
What are
like
you at?
pretty much at 1.3 million probably in tomorrow or something like that. So it's just
What's
wild.
another 300,000 people?
It sounds mental because like when you first start, you get that, honestly, the first like 0 to like, I kind of went from like 3,000. The first surge was like 3,000 to sort of like 100,000. And I was like, oh my God, this is like bonkers. This is like crazy. And it is, but it's all relative when you kind of get into like, when you've got like a million, it's like 10, 15, 5k followers. It's just like, it's just something that happens every day, you know.
Mm.
But everything just compounds. That's what it is. It's just a big, massive compounding effect in that people, you grow, and then more people see that their friends are following me and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, you get more validation by having more followers, because
Yeah.
people just go, oh, this guy's got like 100,000 followers or 500,000 followers. He must be somewhat credible. So that it just, the following just gets easier. If that makes sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like it takes a lot of work to go from like 0 to 10K followers. But then once you're
100%.
at your stage, like to go from 1 million to 1.3 million would probably happen like in a space of weeks, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally wild. Right. So when you first started this Instagram account, were you like, right, okay, I've got a strategy, I've got a plan, I'm gonna hit a million in a year? Or was it, I'm gonna start an Instagram account and just see how this goes? How was it? Like what was your plan when you started it?
Yeah, when I first started, by the way, I never anticipated, yeah, I'll get to a million next year. That's my goal. Yeah. I had no real concept of like followers, and I was actually kind of more focused on um, doing things from like Facebook ads perspective and sort of building email lists and doing stuff like that, but not really through followers, primarily because the people that I'd spoken to also were doing quite well and didn't have a large following. Obviously, there's lots of different ways to do it. So yeah, my goal was to just put out lots of different offers that I hadn't done before. Because in the in-person boot camp, it was very much like 6-week challenges and free trials and some stuff like that. Whereas when you go the online route, you're kind of doing stuff like lead magnets, you're doing stuff like masterclasses. So I kind of just thought, yeah, I'll kind of just go down that route, and I'll use ads to drive people um, to my page. But then, yeah, I kept on posting content, kind of just got a little bit more traction. And then once you get that first surge of followers, then I kind of just focusing a little bit more on the organic side of stuff because I could. I was like, okay, I've got all these people, and then just kind of using similar style offers that I thought I was going to be using paid traffic for, and then just funneling it into the organic stuff because I was just getting followers. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's wild. So was there like one post or one reel that like from the at the very start that really catapulted things forward?
100%. So there, I think everyone has this. Anyone who's like got a large following, they've always had one video and it kind of just something clicked or something kind of went viral or did really well. And I was posting essentially like nutrition, some workout stuff, and some mindset stuff, and some testimonials and proof. So a mixture of everything. And I was posting more recipes, and then I basically posted this one recipe where I kind of threw everything into a bowl. Everything was really simple and easy in the recipe, and it obviously just hit really hard. It was like a 1 minute reel. I think it got, I think now it's like 10 million views, but it basically got like an insane amount of views. And I literally went like overnight from like 3,000 followers to about 100,000, right? And again, what helped was the fact that I had been posting already. So when people were saw this recipe and they were like, okay, that's kind of weight loss based. It's super simple and easy, something that I can make, probably quite relatable. They also landed on my page and it was very clearly sort of saying, I help you create simple and easy fat loss recipes. And the page was essentially optimized so that when my target market was obviously landing on that page, um, something must have resonated because they hit the follow button. And then I basically did more of that thing. I thought, okay, that was obviously a style that worked. So you have to double down on it. And that was kind of what I'm doing today, really, or some form of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point because I'm I'm not necessarily trying to build my following, but I'm wanting to learn a lot about it, which is why I've got you on the podcast. So what I do is I observe the type of accounts that I follow. I look at reels, like I'll just scroll and watch reels and see what sort of stuff is really getting like a lot of views, whatever. And exactly what you've said, someone sees your reel and it's packed full of value. It's interesting. They're going to save that recipe. but they probably don't follow straight away from watching that reel. They'll click and then they'll have a little browse and say, oh wait, he's got another recipe, and oh wait, and he's got this and this and this. Okay, I'm giving a follow. So when, because sometimes when you're scrolling, you'll see someone has gone viral and they've just done something that's really landed, and then you click on their account, they've got like 900 followers, because there's clearly nothing else there for people to follow. Another thing is, like, I've found that people love to follow a journey. So if there's like a series, so someone's like, I don't know if you've seen this person who is training for a bodybuilding competition, and she's like way like far out, but she's like, bodybuilding competition in 2 weeks, and she's getting tons of followers because people are just wanting to see that journey. So I think that you have to remember that you need to give something with that. If you want to go viral, it needs to be delivering some value, something that people want to follow along with and get more of.
100%.
So
Yeah.
So what sort of content do you find? Like, you've obviously mentioned that it's recipes and reels. Has there been like a bit of a trial and error? Have you found like that you've tried new things, or are you just sticking with, I know this really, really works, so I'm going to do more of this?
100%. You kind of there's lots of trial and error that goes on behind the scenes that people don't realize, and a lot more time that goes into reels and the whole thought process behind it. But quite a good little mini stories. When I started, I did like the first 2 or 3 recipe reels that were doing really well, and I trialed a few new things, and I actually tried to get almost too smart with it. Like, I tried to add some extra hooks in the at the beginning, and kind of like stretch it out and kind of add lots of things. And then I realized actually this isn't actually doing as well. Like, and then went back to like what the closer to the original format was, and kind of like really stuck to that kind of principle. But yeah, lots of trial and error. And the way that I do it is, I usually try to change or add 1 or 2 different visual hooks or cues every month, and then you'll quickly know what is working and what isn't working, just from like the engagement, and you've got all the metrics and stuff. So a small example for me, like recently, has been, I used to do all of my recipe reels just sitting on like the dining table, but actually just moving to the kitchen counter makes people feel that like they're with you in the kitchen, and they kind of see like the kettle and a coffee machine in the background. Little things like that make the content more relatable, and then you kind of go, okay, that is something that I can keep in. And I actually started to include that with like some of my education reels and my nutrition reels and stuff like that, which has also helped. So everything is a constant like evolution, and you're going to try things inevitably that like just bomb, and that's completely fine. Again, like, no one really cares, because they're literally going to watch one reel, and that might be in their mind for like half a day, and then you're posting another reel in like a day or two. So it doesn't even matter if you put out like, there's no such thing as a bad reel. You're just going to learn from it. So.
Do you know what I would love to hear from you? Do you ever deal with the sort of like dark side of having a lot of people on your page? Do you ever feel like imposter syndrome? Do you ever feel self-doubt? Do you ever like feel like, I just don't want people to see me today? Do you worry about how you come across, or do you just not give a shit?
To be honest with you, I'm quite good at this. I actually don't give a shit, right? That's kind of like primarily how I feel. But I feel quite confident in my content, in that like what I put out there is kind of like my own personality. Like, I haven't really put any like attached too many gimmicks and stuff to it. And all the views are like genuinely what I would have been thinking like a year ago, and it's kind of like true to my philosophy. But there's always going to be some side of when you put yourself online that you have to be switched on a little bit, and you're kind of like somewhat in character. But that kind of goes hand in hand, just if you how you create the content and stuff. So but no, I actually feel okay. But funnily enough, I'm actually a fairly introverted person. Like, I'm not really, yeah, you wouldn't think it. You'd be like, oh, like, if you got me to go and do like a best man speech, or you want me to talk in front of loads of people, I probably wouldn't really be my go-to thing. But probably because I can do this within the confines of my own space and time, and I can just film it. And once it's out there, it's like it's whatever. Um, but yeah, but I have had a few people, funny enough, like now start recognizing me in the street, like more and more. Like last Thursday, I opened the door and Amazon delivery driver was like, "Oh shit, you had them?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're the recipe guy." Yeah, me and my wife like make your recipes and stuff. And I was like, "That's quite wild." And then like a guy in the gym about a month ago just comes up to me and says something similar, and I'm like, "Wow!" Like, not that I want to be like well known or famous, but if those are the people who come up to you, there must be like quite a few people who walk past you and go, "I know that face. I've seen that guy on my phone somewhere," you know? So yeah, quite wild. But
Because, like, if you think about it, like, how many people are in London? How many people, like, what's the population of London?
like,
I don't know.
don't know, 6 million, 7 million, I don't know, something like that.
Like, you've got like a sixth of those people, like 20% of those people or whatever, following you. You've got like the population of Glasgow and Edinburgh following you right now. That's
It is honestly like quite wild, and just to think that like it's going, going up even quicker. And I've recently like started repurposing and moving on to TikTok, so I don't know what's going to happen there. So, yeah,
and I think you should definitely move on to YouTube as well.
yeah, YouTube's. I'm trying to do because I'm trying to do so many things at once. TikTok's really easy because you can just repurpose the format and just put it straight across. Um, I need to definitely explore a little bit more in YouTube, maybe even like YouTube Shorts. So I need to speak to someone about that for sure. I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
I don't think you need to repurpose. I think you could literally just, because I do
You
that.
just put it, but just pop it straight in. Just
yeah, on YouTube Shorts, and you can monetize completely from YouTube Shorts. You don't need to put any long form content on.
Oh, I'll check that out after
There's
this.
another little stream for you.
Yeah.
I can't help not be a business coach at all times. So, sort of keeping with that similar point, was there ever a point where the growth of your account felt like a little bit too much, like a little bit scary, or has it always felt exciting? Like, because you said, just before we started recording, you said that there's just so much that you have to do right now, and especially when you're talking about starting a TikTok, starting a YouTube, like there are so many more opportunities coming your way. Like I know, I don't know if you've announced this, but well, Adam's written a recipe book and it has done really, really well. Am I allowed to announce that?
Absolutely, yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay. So he's also been approached by Penguin Publishers, which is nuts. Like, that's so incredible. Well done. Congratulations. Was there ever a point where it felt overwhelming for you?
I think I was lucky up until now that I've really honestly like enjoyed the journey. I haven't really felt like too much pressure, but for me, I think the overwhelm has probably started to happen kind of like in and around the last month or two. It's more the workload of everything. So it's like you've got the coaching business and that's growing. So that's just more time, more conversations, and you need extra pair of hands to help you out with that. And then you've got an ebook, and then you've got like Penguin, who are like, "Oh, we really want to get a book published by January," and they're saying to me now, basically, getting recipes out like this month, so I have to like find basically the manpower and stuff, and everything just amplifies. Again, it's like the DMs and all that kind of stuff. It's just like yeah. So it's actually more the systems and the work overload that I'm feeling the most pressure. With the content, I'm actually quite happy doing it. So
yeah, because you'll need to like outsource a lot of things. You'll need to have, like, I imagine, multiple VAs and people just setting everything up for you. But that's interesting about the content. So you would never ever, because of like how successful you've had just creating it yourself, and you've even found that when you tried to be smart with it and maybe be a bit flashier, or because I know you use your iPhone propped up against the pickle jar, is that right?
yeah, I'm literally just filming on like either the most basic tripod, something that I was using probably a year ago, or sometimes to get like what looks like an incredible angle of food, it's literally just like on a stand on a pickle jar, and if that's not tall enough, I'll just stack up some like salsa jars or something. And it's just honestly, if you could see like the behind the scenes, you'd probably have quite a laugh. So
That's amazing. Yeah, so you need to maintain that authenticity, don't you? That sort of like, because your personal brand is like you're just a normal dude, just like anyone else. Obviously, super knowledgeable, but you're not like a bro. You're not someone who uses super fancy tech. You're just someone in your kitchen making tasty, healthy, high protein food, essentially.
100%. And I actually speak to every person that comes into the coaching, and I always ask them like, why did you follow me? Like, what is it that you found interesting, and how long you've been following me, and all this? And they all say something very similar. They're like, you just seem like a really relatable, normal guy. There's lots of people that you go online, and they're very like brash, loud, and like almost trying hard to stand out. And as a result of that, sometimes you don't come across as being as approachable. Whereas, I'm just like, I just say things really simply with not a lot of faff, not a lot of like profanity and swear words and stuff like that. And obviously, part of that hits, as well as the recipes being, again, the recipes for me have to be something that is, one, not gimmicky, and two, that busy people can have in their everyday lives, and it has to be relatable. As soon as you add 15 ingredients and you've got to saute all these different things, like, you can do that, but most people are like, I need simple, healthy, high protein recipes for someone who doesn't have a lot of time, and that's kind of essentially what it's all geared towards.
Mm, absolutely. So, how do you balance posts that are for visibility and for growing your following versus posts that actually sell your services?
100%. So I think you've got, um, if you can mesh two different themes into one, um, that is like ideal. So for example, my recipes typically give me the highest amount of reach, but I always try to put into that the theme of like weight loss, calorie deficit, and protein. So you kind of get the two in one of like, cool, I can make this recipe, but oh, that also helps me with weight loss. So that's why when they land on my page, obviously there is that kind of correlation, right? But you definitely have different posts for different purposes. So for me, the recipe reels get the most, and then I also do like educational and sort of just normal talking about nutrition reels, which I know will typically get um, less views, but they're important to tie in everything together. Of course, it depends on what you're selling. So if you are selling coaching, yeah, recipes are great, but they also want to see that, okay, this guy also shows me how to lose weight and talks about those kind of topics. And sometimes the posts that you put out, which have the lowest amount of reach, and might seem like the worst performing, can actually be actually quite fruitful for you. So, for example, when you
Mm,
put testimonials and stuff out there, they will just get the least amount of reach. But when people land on them, they they've been like consuming and viewing your content, and that will resonate with them and make them take action. And that's where people will kind of like join your coaching. They'll often see a testimonial and they'll be like, oh my God, I saw Susie's testimonial and that really hit me. And they'll, kind of like join your coaching program off the back of that. So yeah, definitely different content for different purposes. So
mm. Yeah, because that's something that I talk about a lot, that you don't need a big following to have a really successful business. I started my business again, like similar to you, from scratch about a year and a half ago, and I hit my first 15K month with 150 followers. So for anyone listening
100%.
thinking, oh my God, I need I need to go viral. But the thing is, you cannot sell to an empty room. And quite often, you might find that you've got like a decent amount of followers, but you don't have enough of the people that you actually want to work with, enough ideal clients in your audience. So in that case, then you might need to do things like look at visibility content and calling people in that way. And that's an organic way to do it. And a paid way to do it is to have ads that run to your account and get new followers that way. So yeah, I wanted to ask you a question for anyone who is wanting to, build their following. Um, what happens if they're posting every day and hearing crickets? What would be your advice for those
Yeah,
people?
there probably is. I would say a little bit of a harsh truth out there in that if you're someone who is trying to grow a social following and you're wondering why it hasn't happened because you're posting super frequently, you're probably definitely going to want to look at the style of content or what you're putting out because um, if you're putting out 2 3 posts a week and so two posts a day or you're posting really frequently, yeah, essentially look at how much value firstly you're giving on your page because you have to give something out for free, right? But there has to be a reason for people to follow you, right? So um, yeah, essentially just look at how much value you're giving and then how much relatability there is in that content. So that's kind of one thing. And I think little things like page optimization and stuff like that, in terms of like when people are landing your page, I think it's if you can sort of define your page as something that is like really simple and people land on your page. So people usually spend 2 3 seconds looking at this page or this person and they go, should I follow? Should I not? Right. So for me, it's just like really simple weight loss, food, and advice. That's kind of that. Whereas sometimes people try to be a jack of all trades a lot of the time, and they have like a lot of things going on, and sometimes they're doing like a gimmicky meme thing, and sometimes they'll be doing like nutrition, sometimes they'll be doing lots of different things. So if you can kind of define like what you are, I think that's one thing. And again, if you want to grow, you are probably you will have to get good at figuring out reels and what works for you. And what works for me, you can take the principle of what works for me and sort of turn it into your own niche or your own field. But yeah, that's kind of what I'd say on that.
Mm. What do you think is the anatomy? Like, if we were to like literally, because you talked about visual hooks, what would you say is the anatomy of a really effective reel for visibility?
So people might have heard me talk about this before, but I always say on Instagram, you want to try to show people, not tell people. So
Mm.
use that to your advantage, right? If you're a person that's talking about, for example, you should eat more protein or get more steps in, is there a way that you can show that on camera rather than just tell people sitting in a chair, right? So use that to your advantage. You're on Instagram, or you've got a camera in front of you. Um, Obviously stuff like lighting and stuff like that plays a part, and oftentimes it's the small little small things on their own don't make a big difference, but when you compound them and you add them up, they do make a big difference. So little things as well that have worked really well for me that I'm getting better at is constantly changing camera angles. It might sound like a really long thing, but instead of having just like you talking about a topic, it could be, if it's not a visual thing, you could have you talking about a topic, but maybe the camera angle changes every 2 seconds or something like that. So if you look at my reels as an example, especially my more recent reels, you'll see that I might say one sentence and then the next sentence moves to just like a slightly higher pan or lower pan or moving around the room, and I'll kind of move on to the next sentence. And I try to do that while still being visual and still trying to, tick all the boxes that keep people glued. Because what you need to do is you need to get people to keep watching past the first 1 to 3 to 5 seconds. That's the most important bit. You need to hook them in with something, and it doesn't have to be a super catchy gimmicky hook. For me, I feel that like my hook is the fact that I'm giving you super clear visual information immediately, and it's like, for example, me laying down 2 pieces of food, or I might have like loads of empty plates, which might be like the promise of a payoff or something like that. So there's different ways in which you can sort of explore, but um, yeah, I think those are probably my main 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, I think this hooking people in from the moment like they see your content is so important. And even not, this isn't just with reels, and I encourage people to like talk on their stories as well. And you know, like I make most of my sales on my Instagram stories too. Something that just really irritates me is when you see someone and they're like blethering away about something completely irrelevant on the first slide of a story. Like, oh, look at the state of my
Yeah,
hair today. Oh, what's the weather doing? I ain't watching any
yeah,
more of this. I'm just scrolling on to the next person. So we need to really implement this in every single type of content. We need hooks. But to be fair, at the same time, I and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I have a feeling that, yeah, see if your ideal client is like, I don't know, a teenager, someone in their 20s, someone who has a little bit of more of a monkey
Yeah,
brain, right? Maybe that type of content like really calls them in somewhere. It's like, like you're caught from the first second, and there's like all this flashing up text and a camera angle change every like few seconds. But if your ideal client is someone who's like maybe a bit older, someone who is, well, I love a carousel. I love sitting down and reading someone's carousel from the beginning to the end. If it's interesting, I really enjoy that. So maybe someone who's like a bit older, doesn't have so much of a monkey brain. And then also I want to hear your thoughts on, see, with someone who has such a like short attention span, are they like an ideal client? Are they someone who is like, well, I want a quick fix from 3 seconds of this TikTok that I've just seen. I also want you to deliver me incredible results in 4 weeks, or I'm not trying. So, do you think there's something to be said for that?
I think that's actually quite hard to quantify in terms of, you know, I think that the principle of the actual hook itself, it is what it is, and that like you have to, whether someone is a client or isn't a client in the future, they need to get to like the 10-second stage of your video. So you need to do whatever you can, and then you're kind of just, it's all just a numbers game from there, right? So yeah,
Yeah, I do. It is interesting how like this is something that we have to contend with. That the fact that people have so much information at their fingertips. There's so many online coaches out there that it is kind of like an attention seeking game, and you have to just play that game. But you don't have to do it in a way that doesn't feel authentic to you. You can do it in a completely like authentic way. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else. And if you look at Adam's content, yes, he does hook you in from the first second, but he doesn't do it by acting like an idiot. He is
yeah,
he's just been like, hi, here's something that you're going to be really interested
yeah.
in.
But you know as well, like it's like you have to also accept that like posting an Instagram is somewhat of a game, right? And you just need to know the rules, right? And as soon as you know the rules, you might stop sort of going, oh, why is my content not working? Like you just, there's just something within the boundaries and some boxes that you're not ticking that you need to be ticking. As soon as you know how the game works, then you can start to play around with a few things. But there's definitely a few things like we were talking about earlier, like reels and hooks and stuff, that it just has to be there. It is what it is. You can
Yeah.
sit there and be like, oh, I want to say something really slow and introduce myself at the start. Well, cool, cool. If you do and you go, hi, my name's Adam, I'm going to talk about nutrition, you just have to accept that, okay, cool, I've lost 90% of people already. So you just need to find a way of doing it, like you said, is authentic to you, whether that's, you know, some visual hook or saying something else. I don't know. So,
Yeah. And I think that that's what it really does highlight where your mindset's at, because you can sit there and complain about it. You can be like, oh, do you know, I just don't like social media, or I hate the way that this works right now. You have to be like a performing monkey in order to build a following and get clients. But that is just not true. It's just all problem solving and, testing this stuff out, collecting the data and finding what works for you. So that's a really good point. Thank you so much for saying that. Right. So, um, what is something that coaches should stop doing right now if they want to build a following?
something I should stop doing. I'd say
Yeah.
there's probably two things that come to mind. I'd say I see a lot of coaches posting gimmicky stuff. Like we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but like you said, I think like
What give us an example of gimmicky stuff?
so. For example, it could be something like having a focus on um, like something that is like meme based, and it's kind of like jokes, something jokey and something like really funny, like a little bit over the top, like I don't know, like me in bed at 40, like in the reality of it, and there's some kind of like, and oftentimes people copy a lot of these memes from something that someone else has seen, right? It's a theme or a trend that's kind of going round. Um, so by all means, you can put that in, I would say, but the your content should be focused on value, helping your target market, and kind of spinning off from there. Um, and yeah, I think kind of like segueing on from that, I think a lot of people that I see anyway, they will oftentimes copy, like almost, and I've seen it with my content a lot, by the way. I get tagged in a lot of stuff. People like outright just copied the entire recipe, the entire video, and I can feel the
Wow.
DNA of it in um in the actual video when I'm watching it. But you kind of want to take ideas from other people, but don't copy. So you see a lot of people nowadays, and I don't know exactly how well some of these coaches are doing, but they'll do like trying out recipe videos and stuff like that, and they'll have an overlay of like someone talking or something like that, or trying out different recipes. And if everyone is doing it, it's really hard for you to stand out. So the hard part of going online is also trying to do different things, and being authentic with that, and just being like, I don't really care, just be like, I'm going to try something different. Like I did something completely different that I just came up in my head 2 or 3 weeks ago, which worked really well. And I was like, so I've done like meal plan videos and stuff before. How can I package this in a different way? And I basically just did a video where I wasn't talking, and I kind of went through like an entire day's worth of eating, but I just put music on in the background, me kind of like cobbling food together, which is probably somewhat relatable. And I put like the calories and the protein of every single ingredient that went in, because in my head I thought, cool, well, I haven't seen anyone else do that. Maybe I'll try that. And then it did really, really well. And it's a format that I can then sort of replicate. But they're probably the two things. And yeah, just be true to like your own values and your core beliefs, right? For sure.
What do you think your values and core beliefs are? I want to hear that.
I would say do the basics really well. So do the basics to a high standard, right? And I think that serves you well in anything, right? In nutrition, in training, in business, like do all that, the stuff that is the most important, is just get that done, and the bells and whistles and stuff can kind of come later, right? So
I fully agree with that. Like, get really good, and especially with them. So I don't necessarily teach people how to build a big following, but I do teach people how to sell through their social media content. And people are like, should I start Facebook? Should I start TikTok? Should I start emails? Should I have like a website? I actually don't think you need to do that until you've got your Instagram content really, really good. Like, focus on that, make it brilliant, and you can have a super successful business. I've got clients that are having 10K months recurring income just from Instagram organic content, and they don't even have a website or emails or literally anything else. It's just that. So get really, really good at one thing. The basics work for a
100%.
reason.
Like a lot of
Don't.
people ask me as well, like, what do I need to get started? How do you set up a website? I have to do all these sort of things. And I'm like, guys and girls, like you just need to like put a little bit of content out there. Like nowadays, Instagram is your website. You don't need all these funky things that go that, like, that's the basics. It's like the information and what comes out of your mouth is the most important thing, right? Because people buy from people, right? They buy from you, they buy from me because they trust what we say, and we build trust with our videos and content and stuff. So that should be like the primary focus. And you can add all the other stuff, yeah, later as and when you need it.
Exactly. Right. So just a couple more questions for you, and then I'm going to do a quick
Nice,
fire
go for it.
round. Right. So what's next for you? So you're at 1.3 million. You're getting offers of like a published book. You're an online coach. You've got your boot camp. What's next?
So I think for me, it sounds unbelievably boring, but it's probably more of the same, really. But really, it's definitely moving on to TikTok. And
The 13-year-olds are going to be so excited.
I'm interested to see what kind of audience and what kind of conversions you get on there. But you can monetize your content quite easily on TikTok, a lot better than you can on Meta. Because Meta, I didn't even know this until quite recently, but Facebook will will monetize your content, but Instagram won't. You kind of have to monetize that yourself. But yeah, TikTok, and then likely a book, definitely ebook number two, um, and finding some really loyal and good staff is my sort of next short term step. It's really hard to find that.
It's very, I imagine that's such a challenge, is finding someone who is going to do what you want them to do and do it
To a
quickly
high
and
standard, yeah.
communicate, get to a high standard, communicate well with you. God, that must be really challenging to find that quickly as well, because I imagine that you need these people to start
Yeah,
soon.
like I really need anyone listening to this, if you're a coach, or know of a coach, yeah, I need a coach to help me more so with the actual coaching side of things. But as I'm sure that you'd have found, like the most important thing that I look for is also like um, just competency and trust. Like if I can trust someone, that is the most important thing, right? The other stuff I can probably help teach and mold and grow them into the role, but I need to find someone that I know is super reliable. That's
Right, so you need an online coach to work for you. Well, that is probably exclusively who listens to this
excellent.
podcast. So whoever emails Adam
Yeah,
first.
I'll give you all the hints and tips. You can see all the systems and the behind the scenes of how everything works.
Right, okay. So one last question, then we'll move on to the quick fire. Um, what kind of impact are you hoping to leave behind with your business, with your brand? What would you like to, be remembered for?
Um, Hopefully just empowering people with information, really, like really simple information. And yeah, just don't know, it's like just kind of what I'm already doing. I don't really know what else to add to that.
Isn't that such a difficult
I
question?
know,
I'm
no,
sorry. I didn't know what
no, not
you
at
would
all.
say. I don't know what.
Probably one that I wasn't ready for. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think, um, yeah, probably remembered for just being what you see online. I don't know, just really simple, just giving out information that is really digestible. And yeah, that's
I imagine it's quite hard because, like, if you even rewound 2 years ago, like, you would never ever imagine that this is where you would be right now on my
yeah, of course.
podcast. Um, I can't imagine. So imagine, like, you just don't know what life is going to bring in a couple of years' time. Like, when I was before I became an online coach, I would never imagine that I would be doing this now. Like, life has changed so quickly, even just since the pandemic.
100%.
Um, and like, this is another tangent to go on, but we don't need to follow this particular thread. But I don't think, like, there would be people like me being able to be at home working just from their social media, like making money just from their social media, like 20 years ago. Not a
You
chance.
say 20 years ago. I mean, like kind of like what you're saying. Like, I didn't even think that any of this would be where I am, or that it was even like possible. Even like 18 months ago, I'm sitting there, because when you've been an in-person coach and you go on, and that transition to going online, like what we spoke about at the beginning, like sometimes like you can't really fathom that, like it's something that you can do, because that's your world. One-on-one is your world, or your in-person stuff. And when you go online, it's a completely new thing, and you're like, you kind of have this mental reset of going, oh, I just want to get like one or two or five clients or 10 clients. And then you kind of realize that that is possible. And then the deeper you dive into that world, you realize that you can just do so many things with online, take it in so many different directions.
Absolutely. And the impact that you can have on people all over the world, the connections that you can make, like even just like being able to have this
100%.
conversation with you, you're down in London, I'm up in Scotland, like it's amazing. And I also, do you know what I find so interesting that it probably keeps you very grounded is I imagine like if you've got older relatives or even maybe your parents, like trying to explain to them what you do,
My,
they'd
my
be like,
my girlfriend's parents still don't fully understand, right? I think until about a week ago, they're like, I don't, what does he do again? He posts videos, and does he make a living from it? And they can't get their head around it, even though I was like, yeah, so I have like a coaching business, and they always ask me the same thing like every month or two. They're like, so how does the coaching business work, kind of thing. But yeah, but actually, a funny story on that. Yesterday, I had a new onboarding call with someone, and she was like, "Oh, um, just to let you know, we're like Lee and Donna's really like best friends, which is basically my girlfriend's parents." And she had a dinner with them last week, and they were talking about me, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, I follow him." She's like, "Oh my god, yeah, yeah, that's our son-in-law to be, right?" And then she joined, and it's just funny, and it's just funny how things work. And they actually explained exactly how the coaching works because she already bought it by then. But yeah, anyway, so
That is amazing because it's such a small world. But also, I bet that they're like, right now we understand, and now we're
yeah, oh, we
impressed.
understand it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They think I'm going to be like the new Joe Wicks. I don't know if I am, but that's what they think. They kind of relate me to someone like him because he's super easy. He's like he's he's Joe. He did cookbooks and all that kind of stuff. And I'm probably not the most dissimilar trajectory to that.
No, that's actually great, and that's probably how you should introduce yourself from now on. I am the new
Yeah, I'm
Joe
Joe
Wicks.
Wicks 2.0.
Amazing. Right. So let's move on to our quick rapid fire questions. Instagram trend you secretly love.
Oh, I love. Honestly, I sit there and I just binge on like viral hooky recipes. That's what I love, honestly. Obviously, that's what my algorithm only feeds me because it's just recipes, food, and nutrition. Um, but yeah, that's what I love. Yeah.
I get I get quite different videos from you. I love the stinky little baby with a dog, like a cute dog. Have you heard the stinky little baby
No,
song?
go on.
I'm not singing with stinky little baby. So there's like a trending audio that's pretty little
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
baby,
yeah.
that one. But so yeah, so someone has sang it and it's Stinky Little Baby. And it's normally like an ugly dog that they're singing it to. And I taught the song to I've got a 3-year-old and I taught it to him and it his favourite song because it finishes with "You smell like pee and poo," which he thinks is like top level humour. So that's my favourite trend.
And dog
Okay,
videos.
I think
And
this
dog
is
videos. Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
dog videos, of course. Yeah. Worst comment that you've ever had on one of your viral
Probably
videos?
ones I still get today. I remember I got slated for not washing my rice in the first ever viral video. I think that probably added like that some element of controversy that added to like the virality of the video. But people will generally sometimes just go, "Oh, your recipe looks rank or whatever," but it is what it is. It's the internet. It's like if you're putting videos out and you're getting millions of views, what you expect everyone to just be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." You're gonna get hate, right? It is what it is. So usually it's on just food. Or another funny one was, "Oh, I can't believe this dude just uses like put that avocado in. It's like so black and rotten and off and all this." And half the time I don't even realize this stuff until it's in the comment section. So.
I think you're doing pretty well if those are the worst comments that you've had. Like you've never had a comment about your
Oh
appearance
yeah,
or
I've
anything like
had.
that.
How bad? I get sometimes people tell me that I look like Bruno Fernandes, who's a Man United player. I don't. I see it, but I don't see it. I think anything else, nothing too bad. I don't think. I think because I'm not so provocative in my videos. Like it's. I'm on average, I'll get less people who sort of like come at me. Um, but I'm sure if I dig around, I'll find you one and send it to you later this week. The worst.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to see the worst one. Okay, next question. Have you ever posted anything that's made you cringe?
I've definitely got some of my earlier videos where I'm just like, especially when you're like, you put this much effort into the content creation. Now you look back and I'm just sitting there and like the camera quality is either like really bad. There was a funny one where I got my friend to record me. It was probably like my 20th video or something, and just to ask me questions like walking down a beach. And yeah, I just think like I was just like so stiff, like when I was talking. And I remember him just like having tears behind his eyes, like laughing, like asking me the questions because yeah, it's just sort of funny. But really, the earlier content, which is quite funny. So
Okay. And finally, what would you do if your Instagram account got deleted tomorrow?
lose my mind. um,
Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
true.
No, I don't know. You probably maybe see me take a few extra boot camp sessions. If there was no Instagram, I think what you probably mean is if there was no maybe social media, that's probably um, yeah, I'd probably be yeah, just go back to my boot camp and just be like, right, guys, we're boot camp's carrying on for another 5 years. That's what we where I'd be.
Get back into the old
Or,
rocks,
or
would
I'll
you?
go
Would you?
into that, yeah, 100%. Although I need to have a little refresher course on that, and yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what I would do if my Instagram account got. Well, no, I know. I'm building my email list exactly for that reason. You remember you don't own your Instagram profile, so make sure you've got your emails
100%.
set up
I didn't
the
think
way
of
you
that.
do.
Yes, 100%. I'd be straight on the email list and probably messaging people on WhatsApp and contacts and stuff, and selling stuff that way if I didn't have Instagram.
Mm. Fantastic, very good answer. Right, well, thank you so much, Adam, for your time and really, really interesting and super insightful and valuable stuff there. So thank
Pleasure.
you for your time. Is there anything else that you want? Do you want to plug yourself? Get maybe a few more
Yeah, just
followers?
go and follow me after this. Comment under my video. Give me a nasty comment to balance out the nice ones. And yeah, if you DM me in the inbox, it's always me. So find me a message.
Oh wow! Thank you so much. Well, have a nice day, everyone, and I'll speak to you all
Bye.
soon. Bye.